We're here today to talk to you about the 3 mistakes that couples make when they first get into the lifestyle. Based on our years of experience in the nightclub business and having swingers clubs and being in the lifestyle ourselves, we've seen some common mistakes that couples make. Jackie, what do you think one of the top mistakes couples make when they get into this lifestyle?
I would say the first mistake is not being on the same page. The topic comes up and discussion ensues, and maybe for whatever reason, one of the people in the partnership does it for the other person, maybe not even so much for themselves. And I think it's really important that when you're agreeing to get into this lifestyle or to attempt it, is to really go ahead and sit down and have those conversations. It's okay if you don't feel comfortable with it initially. I mean, wouldn't you agree?
I do. I think that's true. And I've seen it many times where couples will come into the club and it almost seems as though the guy is in there to meet another woman, and you can tell the wife is a little bit on edge and is not really enjoying herself. It's because she's not on the same page or not involved. Maybe she doesn't want to have anything to do with what's going on, and it's just not working out for them.
I think with starting that conversation, the one example I have is when you and I did it. Mm-hmm. And so when that topic came up and we did sit down, there was some trepidation for me because I wasn't sure what to expect, obviously. But the more I relaxed and the more we were able to have loving conversation with each other, there was a lot of affirmation. There wasn't any threats, and I think that's really important. It shouldn't be, you better do this or
I'm out the door.
Yeah, or you're going to be in big trouble.
And I think that's true. We did talk about it a lot, and we talked about different things. There were some things that we both had interest in doing, and there were some things we talked about that one or the other of us wasn't really interested in. And for now, we've just put that to the side.
Because remember, this is about enhancing your relationship. This isn't just about what one person wants. It's about what both of you want. The second big mistake is boundaries. Setting them and not breaking them. And we can't stress that enough. I mean, if you're going to have a conversation about this type of a lifestyle, it's really important to sit down with your significant other and go over what your boundaries are going to be.
For instance?
Well, it could be, I'm not comfortable with you kissing anybody when we're there, or I'm not comfortable with you having intercourse with a partner if we get together. And the boundary can be whatever you want it to be, and that's the other important thing. It's all about communication. So
I think it's important too to think about what could come up in the situation that you're planning on getting into. If you're planning on meeting somebody for a threesome, think about the things that can come up that you would or wouldn't want your spouse to do with the person that you're going to go meet, and those can become your boundaries.
Right. And, we're not saying that those boundaries are going to be set in stone forever, but because they're boundaries at that moment, it's really important to respect them from both sides. If John's not comfortable with something, I need to respect that. If I'm not comfortable with something, he should respect that. Because you never know. You may get into the situation and you may find the one thing that you thought was going to really bother you doesn't, and then that can be another conversation.
And guys, I want to stress the importance to you of once you've set those boundaries to not break them. I've seen it happen so many times where couples will come into the club and I'll give them a tour and they'll explain to me what their boundaries are. And then in the heat of the moment, maybe a little bit too much alcohol, and the guy decides, I think I can go ahead and kiss this woman. My wife's not going to mind, but she does. And she jumps up and you guys end up running out of the club having an argument. You've broken some trust by breaking that boundary that you guys had communicated you weren't going to break. It's really, really important not to break the boundaries.
Well, and it doesn't just apply to the men. It applies to the women too. I mean, this really boils down to respect for each other.
Yeah, it sure does. So the third mistake that I see happen very frequently is couples will come to the club and have very high expectations. They'll have talked about their fantasies together and they've decided, okay, we want to get with this other hot couple and maybe even do something simple like just soft swap. Well, they get to the club and they find that the woman's hot, the guy's not. The guy's hot, the woman's not. And they just don't seem to click with anyone. And they leave the club uncomfortable, feel like it's not a very fun place.
Well, they feel like maybe this isn't for them because they can't find anybody, and the whole evening is centered around that instead of just coming in, enjoying themselves, spending time together, cultivating some friendships there with people. It's, the goal of the evening isn't always just about sex, because this is really about cultivating relationships.
It is. And not just, I mean, really any club. If you just go in there, there's so many fun things to do in the club. You can meet other couples, you can dance, you can drink, you can have a good time without doing any of the fantasy stuff. And then if you happen to come across a couple that you guys click, then it takes it to the next level.
And so then another part of setting the expectations is just to relax, just to go for it. Sometimes stepping outside that box ends up being a great decision. And so if you're overthinking it or setting the standard too high, you miss out on some of the joy of just getting to experience something new and different with your significant other.
And just having a good time in general. We'd like to thank you guys for joining us today. We know you've taken in a lot of information and you probably have a lot of questions you would like to ask us. We have webinars every month where you can ask us anything you'd like. We're going to send you an email inviting you to these webinars. We'll see you there.